Hello and welcome to West Yorkshire Poetry Week. Today is also National Poetry Day, and I'd like to take this opportunity to wish everyone a happy National Poetry Day from myself and everyone at the National Literacy Trust. It's lesson 4 of this week, so you should have already started writing, if not finished, your poems. And today's lesson is all about editing. Putting the final touches to your piece of writing. Every year, National Poetry Day has a theme. This year's theme is the word counting, and this can be taken in many different ways. One suggested way would be your voice counts. Personally, I'm going to use the theme of counting for the theme of counting my blessings for this National Poetry Day. My name is Laura Baldwin, and I am a poet from Bradford. As a professional poet, I am published and I work in schools, I run workshops, I work in church youth groups, I work with mental health support groups and many different people to help them overcome their barriers in writing on the page. My own writing covers a wide range of topics. I write about all sorts of things, from topical current affairs to my disability and how inaccessible the world can be. I write about parenting and relationships. I write about pretty much everything. So as previously mentioned, today is National Poetry Day, and it's also lesson 4 of our West Yorkshire Poetry Week. And today's lesson is all about editing. Firstly, it's good to ask why we edit. If you're submitting to a competition or for a publication, then obviously grammar and spelling are important. Mistakes overlooked at this stage could mean that your piece is rejected. It could mean that it doesn't make it as far as you would like it to. So do make sure that any rules of the submission process are followed, but it is also important to think about form, rhythm, and pattern in your work. So rules and regulations. There are no rules unless you want there to be rules. What this means is that you can choose to follow traditional writing schemes that involve stanzas with rhyming structures and syllable counts, and your teacher will have more information on those in their teacher resource pack. But you may also choose to free write your poem. If you've chosen the former, then you will already be aware that you have rules to follow in how the poem is written. But if you have free written your piece, there are no rules unless you decide to create them. If you create a rule for your writing, it should be consistent throughout the piece. So practice is the next thing. Like everything in life, your editing skills will get better with practice. It is important to read as much as you can in order to be a better writer. That is my most important piece of advice. But also to really get to grips with editing your piece. You can practice by taking a body of text from somewhere. This can be a blog post, a news article, a flyer. And as you read it, think about what you like and what you don't like about the piece of writing, and then think about what you would change. So grab a pen and a pencil and get to work making those changes. Then get a photocopy or write out a published poem and do the same with that. This practice will really help you learn what is necessary and unnecessary in your work and how to improve it for your reader. So the next step is to read your work aloud. The first thing to do when editing is to read your work aloud to get a gist for any early thoughts on lines that don't work in how you intend them to be received. I like to read the piece, pausing as I go to make changes, and read it fully when I think I'm finished. Reading it aloud helps you hear the poem as your intended audience will read or hear it. So then we remove or replace words or lines to improve the poem. At this stage, you're working on what you think improves the poem for the reader or listener. Remember that unnecessary words and lines are easier to spot when the piece is being read aloud. My next piece of advice would be learn when to leave the work alone. I don't know about you, but when I'm being critical of my own work, I struggle to know when to stop. There always seems to be one more thing that I could add or one more thing I could take away. And it's important to keep an original copy of your piece in case you go too far with your editing and you want to start again or go back to the original. And my final piece of advice would be, don't lose your voice. It's sometimes helpful to ask someone else for their advice, to ask them to read your work, but please remember that their advice is just that, advice. It's not instruction. You must decide whether to take that advice or not, based on whether it improves your piece in your opinion. So this brings me to the end of today's lesson, and I'd just like to say a big well done to all of you, and all the best with your writing and submitting to your in-school poetry competitions. And I'd like to finish by sharing my poem that is also available in the teacher resource pack for you to read with your teacher in your class. It's called Not Everyone Will Like You. Not everyone will like you. Sometimes it will be your fault. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes an apology may change their mind. Sometimes it won't. We must try to live our lives still, rise above, forgive, love freely, right wrongs, apologise where needed. And sometimes we shouldn't have to, because that is love. And sometimes people still won't like you, and you can't be everyone's cup of tea. So when you've done all of these, learn now to love yourself. Forgive yourself. Heal yourself. Count those who do like you, and be blessed. Thank you.